They don't take power by force. They make you give it to them. And the scariest part? You won't even realize it's happening. Because narcissists don't control you in obvious ways. They do it quietly, slowly, psychologically. And by the time you notice, you're already trapped. It starts with something that feels normal. A comment, a reaction, a small shift in behavior. Nothing extreme, nothing alarming, just enough to make you question yourself. And that's the moment it begins. Not when they hurt you, but when you start doubting your own reality. There was someone who thought they were in a perfect relationship, supportive, loving, safe, until one day, they couldn't recognize themselves anymore. What changed? Nothing obvious. That's what made it dangerous. Narcissists don't break you all at once, and they reshape your thinking until you start doing their work for them. You defend them. You justify them. You silence yourself. This is how they take power, not by control, but by rewiring how you see yourself. And there are 3 silent tactics they use to do this: confusion, emotional dependency, identity, erosion. Miss these signs, and you won't even know it's happening. But the first one is the most dangerous because it feels harmless until it's too late. Number 1, it starts with confusion, not obvious lies, not direct manipulation, just small moments where something feels off. You remember something clearly. They deny it ever happened. You question it. They stay calm. Now you're the one unsure. And instead of trusting yourself, you start adjusting. This has a name, and once it starts, it rarely stops. It's called gaslighting, and it's designed to do one thing: make you doubt your own mind. Because the moment you stop trusting yourself, you start relying on them. That's the shift. That's where power begins to transfer. You stop saying, "I know what happened," and start saying, "Maybe I'm wrong." And that maybe is where they live. But confusion alone isn't enough. They need you to stay. Number 2, emotional dependency. So they give you something powerful: attention. At first, it feels intense. You feel seen, chosen, special, almost like they understand you better than anyone else. Then it changes. The attention disappears, becomes inconsistent, hot and cold. And now your brain is hooked. Because inconsistency creates obsession. You start chasing what you used to receive freely. You check your phone more, overthink more, try harder. Not because you're weak, but because you've been conditioned. And this leads to the final stage, the one most people never recover from. You didn't lose control of your life all at once. It happened quietly, in small moments you barely noticed, until one day you looked up and realized the life you were living was built entirely around someone else's comfort. That is not an accident. That is a system. And this channel exists to help you understand it. If this video reached you, if something in you recognized the truth of what you just heard, then subscribe. Because what I am going to show you next will change the way you see every relationship you have ever been in. Number 3, identity erosion. This is where you disappear. Not physically, but mentally and emotionally. You stop expressing yourself, stop trusting your instincts, stop being you. Your decisions revolve around them. Your mood depends on them. Your identity becomes shaped by them. And now, they don't need to control you anymore because you're doing it yourself. That's how they take power, quietly, completely. But here's what most people don't realize. There are warning signs, early signs. That could have stopped this from ever happening. The scary part? Most people see the signs and still stay. Not because they're weak, but because by the time they notice, their thinking has already been altered. Remember that maybe I'm wrong feeling? That wasn't normal, that was conditioning. At the beginning, all I said, they don't take power. They make you give it. This is how, number 4, the illusion of choice. They don't force you, they guide you. A narcissist rarely says, do this. Instead, they create situations where you feel like it's your decision. They might say, do whatever you want, but react coldly when you don't choose what they prefer. Now your brain connects. Wrong choice equals emotional punishment. So next time, you adjust automatically, not because they told you to, but because you want to avoid that feeling. And just like that, your freedom starts shrinking. But it goes deeper, because controlling your choices isn't enough. They need to control how you see yourself. Number 5, identity reprogramming. This is where the real damage happens. They start subtly redefining who you are, not directly, but through repeated suggestions. You're too sensitive. You always overreact. You're the problem sometimes. At first, you resist, but over time, you start to believe it. Now, instead of questioning them, you question yourself. And once your identity becomes unstable, you become easier to control. Remember confusion? This is where it leads, but there's one more layer. And it's the reason people stay, even when they know something is wrong. Number 6, trauma bonding. This is the trap that feels like love. After cycles of pain, they give you moments of relief, kindness, attention, apologies. And those moments feel intense, almost addictive, because your brain links pain to relief and attachment. You don't stay because you're happy. You stay because you're hooked. You tell yourself, they can change. They didn't mean it. It's not always like this. But it is, just not all the time. Hot and cold, remember? That wasn't random, that was strategy. And now, we reach the point where most people lose themselves completely. This is where you disappear. You stop speaking up, stop setting boundaries, stop expressing needs, because every time you did, it led to conflict, distance, punishment. So you adapt, you shrink, you become easier to manage. And now, they don't need to control you. You've already adjusted yourself to fit them. This is the final form of control, silent, invisible, complete. But here's the truth. Most people never hear. Narcissists don't create this from nothing. They look for something already inside you and use it against you. Narcissists don't just find anyone. They find the right person. And if you've been through this, there's a reason it happened to you. Not random, not accidental. Because everything we just talked about, confusion, dependency, losing yourself, it only works on a specific type of mind, someone who questions themselves instead of questioning others. Why you were targeted. It wasn't your weakness, it was your strength, empathy, self-awareness, the ability to reflect, to care deeply. Those traits make you a good person. But in the wrong hands, they make you controllable. Because when something goes wrong, you look inward, you try to fix it, you take responsibility, and that's exactly what they rely on. And while you're busy fixing yourself, you never stop to ask, what if they're the problem? And this leads to the most important question. How do you break out of it? How to break the control? You don't fight them. You disconnect from the system. Because this isn't just a relationship problem. It's a psychological loop. And you don't win loops by arguing inside them. You break them by stepping outside. Step 1. Trust your perception again. That voice you silenced, it was right more than you think. It will feel uncomfortable, even wrong, because you've been trained to doubt it. But clarity starts there. Step 2. Stop over-explaining yourself. You don't need to justify your feelings to be valid. Not everything needs a debate. Step 3. Watch actions, not words. Narcissists are consistent in one thing: inconsistency. A hot and cold, remember, now you see it. Step 4, rebuild your identity. Ask yourself, who were you before this? What did you believe? What did you feel? Because that version of you wasn't broken. It was just overwritten. Step 5, accept the hardest truth. They won't change, not because they can't, but because they don't need to. And that realization hurts because it forces you to let go of who you thought they were. But this is where your power comes back. The moment you stop trying to fix them, you start reclaiming yourself. You stop explaining, stop chasing, stop shrinking. And suddenly, the control disappears, not because they gave it back. And if you've made it this far, you've probably seen parts of yourself in this. Moments you ignored, feelings you dismissed, signs you explained away. So here's the question. When did you first start doubting yourself? And who made you feel that way? Let me know in the comments section. See you next tomorrow.